Okay, so the recording is running, and just wanted to thank everybody for taking time out of their day to come and join us as we talk about cybersecurity, specifically around email phishing and spear phishing, and just awareness and a little bit of education around this. So, of course, we, as usual, have our chat and our Q&A windows open here, and JP's helping me out to moderate that. And sorry, I have my two dogs, a new little puppy, annoying the old grumpy dog on the bed here. So if I'm distracted today, that's why. They'll probably go away in a couple minutes. The content that we're going to go through today, we've got a slide deck put together. I also have pulled in, an assortment of live, real-time phishing messages, things that we get, and we'll walk through those a little bit. So we'll kick this off, and we'll get everybody out of here by 3:30. So if you have any questions or comments, throw them in the chat, and away we go. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. We do just like to remind everybody that our perspective is that technology is a tool to help you achieve business goals and overcome business challenges. And we do this by aligning the technology investments that you make with the business strategy that you are looking to achieve. The agenda, today we're going to talk a little bit about the risks around phishing. What is phishing and spear phishing? Why do they do it? What are they trying to get? And then time for some Q&A. This particular slide here, we share in a number of our sessions because it really highlights the fact that when we think about the technology risks that people face, in the movies and in the news, we hear about these big attacks, people that have found vulnerabilities, that have hacked their way in, that are, doing all this really complicated, really cool looking stuff. But when it comes down to it, the large majority of cyber risk comes at the hands of compromised credentials, right? Why figure out how to pick a lock when you can, just make a key? And so that's what phishing and spear phishing and all of these things really represents, is that the bad actors, as we call them in the technology world, they have learned that most people, first of all, have really poor passwords, meaning that they're short and simple. Second, they use the same password across multiple sites and services. Third, they share passwords openly with other people, and coincidentally, they lose track and lose control over who has access to those passwords. So this information today is really just to help you build some awareness around that. When it comes to phishing, right, what they're trying to do is they're looking to capture information through a number of different ways. We've got emails that we'll talk about, social engineering, which is, really, I guess, assembling information to design an attack or to impersonate someone else. And we start realizing that the more information we're putting online, the more points of entry people are able to figure out. I should back up one moment because I'm noticing, down in the bottom right-hand corner here, we've got the logo from Zen Cyber. So they're one of our training partners. They create this content and share it with us and allow us to, present it to our clients as well. So phishing. Phishing is the use of emails to try to entice unsuspecting victims to disclose private information. So when we're looking at the structure of an email, there's a lot of things that, point us, to question the legitimacy of an email that we have received. This right here, we'll get into a little bit more, but, there are so many, like each arrow here, represents something that we should be concerned about. Is security bank a real place? The subject line that's telling us to take immediate action, grammar mistakes, links that when you hover over them are trying to send you to, places that don't match the text. And then, the dangerous ones are, well, I mean, these are all signs and they can all be dangerous, but of course, when they're asking you to open, certain attachments and malicious applications. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to collect your personal data, usernames, passwords, answers to, those common security questions. And, they're using this, they're doing it primarily by email because your email address is already openly circulated online. There are lists that are out there where you can get, thousands and tens of thousands and millions of email addresses to allow you to send information. There's also services, where these people there, one group might get, information from one source and another one from another source, and they put them together and they build up, more complete profiles, these combo lists. Then they're going to run the attack on thousands of people, and they're going to see what happens. Watching even just simple things like who's opening the emails, who's clicking on the links. And they're doing this because they're making a lot of money from it. And they're doing that, sometimes through very sophisticated, hacks and getting into bank accounts and those types of things. And sometimes they do it by taking over someone's Twitter account and, posting a tweet saying that they're accepting donations in Bitcoin for, relief in Ukraine. So we always have to be thinking about, what we're clicking on, what we're following. So when we're thinking about the phishing emails, the attackers are designing these campaigns in a way to create, that emotional response. So first, they're going to prey on stress and fear. They're going to, pick that subject line. They're going to make it seem like there's something important that has happened. An account has been breached. They're going to encourage you to take an immediate action, right? Something along the lines of, well, don't wait, secure your account now. They might intimidate or, try to scare you into these different things, all by forcing you to, go through their process. When you think about it, a lot of, these types of attacks, we see them through email. We're also starting to see more of them come through text message. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But even just think about the time of day that you're receiving these things. Getting an email saying that your bank account has been locked out and you need to immediately log in to, fix this. Well, if you're getting that at 9 p.m. on a Friday or 3 p.m. on a Sunday, and it seems like it's urgent and you don't have the option of calling your bank, people, that fear kicks in and they're more likely to jump through and do those, take those steps. Now, a couple of quick, phishing examples, and some of these are older ones. I'll pull up some live ones afterwards as well. But we get messages like this from time to time. I mean, not quite as much now, but we'll see something that says we have a voicemail. There's a zip file attachment on here. We really have to question, why would it be in a zip instead of a WAV file? Again, looking at, a fake TELUS one, there's a bunch of different flags, things that they want you to click, to follow through, misspellings or mislabeling, TELUS cable billing department. Well, if it was Shaw Cable, it might make sense, but, would it really be TELUS cable? A really incredibly popular one, is the Netflix account has been suspended. And This one here, I mean, everybody, well, not everybody, but many people subscribe to it. And so in terms of being able to carry the attack out, effectively on a large, group of recipients, they know that sending these out is going to hit a fair number of people. So in this one, we see things like, it says, Dear Netflix. Well, wouldn't it say, Dear Jesse? Your credit card has been expired. That's not proper terminology. And then they ask you to click on, the your link, your account link. And as we saw in the previous one, if you hover over it, it would show you where that link is going to take you. And I'll show you some live examples as well. We get ones from the CRA as well. Same thing, Dear Taxpayer. We've got the dollar sign showing up at the end of the figure instead of the beginning, and another link, right? I actually, when I did this presentation a couple of weeks back, I had just received, an email from the CRA, and it was actually from the CRA telling me that my notice of assessment was ready, but it does not provide a single link in the email. It basically is saying, if you're expecting this, go to the Canada Revenue page, get there on your own. Don't follow our link, and log in normally. So again, very common. A lot of people are using Amazon. We see things like this. So the start of the email address looks legitimate, right? Amazon update at, but then what is this domain that it's sending from, right? That definitely doesn't look like, an Amazon domain. And then, of course, they're wanting you to click on a link and giving you a deadline, right? Pressing that urgency. Office 365, password reset emails. This one here is a really good example. And we see this a lot where the attackers have actually gone ahead and registered a domain that is meant to look very similar to a legitimate domain. So in this case, trx.outlook.com. So it's missing an O. We have seen this extensively where they're looking for businesses that have I's and L's in their names, and they'll register, so example at tier3it.ca. They'll register tier3lt.ca, and they'll send emails from that because it looks, an I and an L looks very similar when you're just glancing past it. On this one in particular, it's saying that they detected a recent sign-in, but when you hover your mouse over the link, we see that it's not even going to outlook.com, it's going to blito.com.ar. So we immediately would know that one is illegitimate. And then, another one, and of course they're going to target, financial information, because, that's their end goal. So, the interesting thing about this one is, it looks really good, but again, when you read the paragraph, well, if there was an error, would PayPal not be able to identify the error, right? And so, they just don't send emails like this where they're uncertain. And then, of course, we've got a grammar, error down at the bottom there. Similar on the Visa, right? So what they're doing is they're going to, great lengths to, get the logo. They're, it's kind of a generic introduction, and many of the same things, the links and all of that. And then you get down to the bottom and they've got, essentially a spelling mistake, right? Visa is always a capitalized V. So they wouldn't make those kinds of mistakes in an email. So how it works, first, they send you an email that you're not expecting. Like we said, they have a reason or information that they want you to take action on, to click and take you to a malicious site. And that phony site is going to ask you to enter information. And this is what I think snags a lot of people, is that they maybe don't realize when they first open the email that it's malicious, and they click on the link and it goes to a website and they start typing their stuff in and they go, oh wait, maybe this isn't what it looks like. The thing to be aware of is that as soon as you start entering information into that site, it's being logged. So even though you didn't click submit, potentially that information that you've entered has already been, collected. So you really want to make sure that, if you end up with one of those emails in your inbox, that you are able to recognize it right away. Now I am going to just throw up my email here real quick. So I've taken and created a folder, just for the purposes of the meeting today, to kind of look at a couple of these. So we've got, some emails here. Some of them are legitimate. Some of them are, phishing emails. So startup Leduc info, when I look at this, I'm able to see, very quickly, I recognize this sender. I expect to receive, this type of information from them. When I go and I read this, it's written in a format that I would expect. And it really doesn't have a whole lot that they're asking me to do, other than, to call if I had questions. Similarly, anybody who's on LinkedIn, you probably get, a lot of these kinds of emails. And so I can see, maybe I'll just open it so we can expand. So I can see that it has come from invitations@linkedin.com. I have no idea who this person is. They've, got a bit of a sales pitch here, and, who they are. And now in this email, there's a number of things that I can, take action on. And if I hover my mouse over top of one of the buttons, it opens a window and it shows me the link that it wants to take me to. And we can clearly see that it's going to https://www.linkedin.com. So that initial component before the first slash, that's the domain that it's wanting to take me to. LinkedIn.com matches the sender's email. I also would expect, this one to, show me LinkedIn.com as well. So this one here, fully legitimate. There's a couple other buttons down below, and when I look at them, they all go to LinkedIn.com. I received this one earlier today, which I thought was interesting. I don't know, JP, if you got this one as well. There's no content in it. And, so first of all, it's, basically, well, the FW, so it shows me that it's forwarding an email. It's supposedly giving information about, Dyson vacuum cleaners, but it's coming from marketing@burson.com.au, and it's kind of like redirected from this other one. Now, the thing that I thought was interesting, and this might be a new item that Microsoft is working on, but it says, the actual sender is different than the normal sender. Click here to learn more. Now, this is built into the header or the information component of the email. And when I open it, it actually takes me to a Microsoft.com page where it's giving me instructions about how to identify, this as a malicious email. So kind of cool. Microsoft is working on helping us automatically identify these a little bit faster. Now, when we get into these, so this one here is designed to make you think that your Office 365 password is expiring. And what I mean by that is that they've put these colored blocks in here that are supposed to mimic the Microsoft logo. We can clearly again see, we've got some urgency, right? They've picked a name, portal administration, that would seem to be legitimate, although what's getcentury.com, what's this macadmin.xyz. And when we get in here, again, it wants us to click on this link and go to this particular page. I really want to click on it just to show you all what happens. But at the same time, I really know that only bad things can happen from going to this page. So I'm not going to click on it. And I would encourage you, don't click on it as well. We get messages like this: Chrome on Windows 10 is now trusted. This is, from Kaseya, and actually, let me just expand this one. So this, right? Chrome on Windows 10 is now trusted. It's coming from hello, at mg.kaseya.com on behalf of hello@passly.com. So they have kind of done a bit of a funny thing where they are, sending from one domain on behalf of another. Now, the thing about this particular email is that, I recognize the sender. I expect this email because I had, logged in on this particular device. And let me see if there's another one here. So I'm being invited to participate in a market survey research. Now, when I look at this, right, I mean, they're enticing me to do this. They're telling me who they are. The name matches the domain. If we read this, it's fairly well written, right? There's no, grammar mistakes and those types of things. If I hover over the unsubscribe, right, it's taking us to oliverwyman.co1.qualtrics.com. So if you were concerned about clicking on this link, maybe you would go and look at what Qualtrics is. My immediate assumption is that Qualtrics is the tool that they use for running their surveys. We notice that on this, it's taking us to a strange domain, iq-dist-2.com, and then all of the rest of this. The fact that they haven't tried to disguise where they're sending you, because when I hover over it, it's the same. If I was interested in, what this particular, email was about, I might pop over to the oliverwyman.com webpage, double check that they're a legitimate organization. If I wanted to, I could check this qualtrics.com. But there's a bit of a just, how many pieces of information do you have that make you feel confident in, the email that's being provided? JP, I don't know about you. When I look at this, this is a legitimate email.
I would have to agree, because I also, while you were talking, Googled who iq-desk.2.com is.
Yeah.
It's actually Amazon Web Services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, if we were to open this, okay, I'm making JP squirm a little, but oh, look at that. Site can't be reached. What's up with that? Now, it could be that, so this email came in on May the 5th. More likely than not, they had a time limit on, when that link was going to, stop working. And then of course at the bottom here, I've got all these other ones that are, obvious spams. So I can see here, they've sent me, something from a Gmail account. Somehow I've been included in a list of, 270 people who types like this. Now, if I open this PDF, and I, of course, do not recommend at all that you would open an attachment that you don't trust. However, because it's a PDF, Let me just drag it over here. Oh man, it's having a tough time. So exactly what I expected it would be. There's really not a whole lot, of content in here, right? It's got this great big, whatever that's all about. But now what they're doing is they're embedding a link into the PDF. And the reason that they're doing it this way is that spam filters have figured out that certain kinds of links are not going to be openable from your email software. So instead, what they do is they give you a PDF document, and usually it's not this, like, why, I don't know what the relevance of the poker stuff is, but you'll get something like a purchase order that requires approval, or you'll get something that might seem like a legitimate business document. You open the PDF, and the content you're expecting in the PDF isn't exactly what you would expect, and instead it's wanting you to click on a link. So if I click on this link, it would take me to a malicious web page that would then be trying to scrape information from me and take advantage of that. So don't trust it. So many more. And honestly, we're already at 3:30 here. So 3:27. So I guess rather than continuing through the rest of the slide deck, because we did that a couple of weeks ago, anybody on the call, do you have any questions specifically that you'd like to ask that we could answer for you?
Are you trying to get my blood pressure up? Like just one wrong click and there's going to be so much work for me.
Well, you know what I want to do is there's part of me that wants to just have a separate computer just for clicking on these things to see what do they actually get you to do. Because obviously we want to avoid that on our business systems and on the networks. Anybody else have any questions? Any examples? Any thoughts? All right. Well, I guess I'll just talk a little bit about this because phishing is literally just throwing your net in the water and hoping that something swims into it. Spear phishing is around the point where these bad actors, as we call them, they are scraping information from multiple different places and assembling it into a profile. The more information they have about you, the more targeted they can get in their attacks. So they're going to look on Facebook and LinkedIn and personal web pages and business web pages, and they're going to learn about who you are, what you do. What is your mother's maiden name? What was where did you go for your honeymoon? All of those types of things, so that they can more effectively build a campaign that is focused specifically on you. And so as business owners, business leaders, and just business operators, it's really important that we recognize that we want to share information, but we need to make sure that we are very cognizant of all of those incoming requests, that we have good password practices, that we're enabling two-factor authentication, on absolutely every site and service that we possibly can, and sharing the awareness and the information with the rest of our staff. And I haven't seen any questions come in, so it might just be me and you here, JP. Yeah, so Melody is asking, what if you click a link and you realize that, afterwards that it might be malicious? Will shutting down your system save the rest of the network, or is it too late? So there absolutely, there are risks that when you visit a malicious web page, that without even doing anything, it will attack your system. Now, the risk of that is fairly low. And what I mean is that, Google, if we're talking Google Chrome, Microsoft or on Edge, Firefox, all these browser companies, they have entire teams of, security researchers who are constantly analyzing their software and thinking about how the protections can be bypassed. So much so that there are competitions where they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to people who are able to successfully bypass, the security in Chrome and execute a malicious attack. So it takes an unusually high amount of sophistication to be able to, crack those security protocols. What doesn't take a lot of sophistication is to create a web page that looks like a Microsoft landing page and collects all the information that's typed into it. So it's a much higher probability that if you go to a malicious link, that it's trying to scrape your information as opposed to executing an immediate malicious attack. So shutting your system down, probably a great first step. And then calling us and having us run some scans and those types of things. If you did happen to type anything into the page, again, hopefully you use a complex and unique password on every site and service that you use. And if that's the case, change that one password. If you're not quite at that point with your passwords yet and you reuse the same password across multiple sites, go and change it everywhere you use it. And I know that's a lot for some people, but you got to do it. Anyone else have any questions? All right. Well, going once, going twice. Okay, well, we're already past our 3:30 mark. You just want to be respectful of everyone's time. So thank you for joining us here today. I don't know that this one is going to go on to our webinars channel. It was a little bit less structured than normal. So thank you for joining. We're going to continue to do these and really work out the structure moving forward so that it's good use of you and all of your team's time to come and join us. And with that, we'll say thank you very much, and we'll close off and appreciate your time. You bet. Thanks, Kelly.
Cheers.